online, feeling fine, and we are looking divine. 3, 2, 1. Let's make some noise. All right, we got a little pre-stream going right now. So awesome. JR in the house with his boy Ace. What's up, guys? What's up? We're doing this. A little bit of pre-stream action, and I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can get the code over here. Joe, did you wanna pop this up on the? What about the Facebook group, the Tips and Tricks Facebook group?
Yeah, that'd be great if we could get it up on there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, let me go ahead and share it on my pages too. I'll put it on the Facebook. Let's see, I've got too many Facebook notifications going on right now, so we're just going to go ahead and pop in over here, tell them stream is up, and then I should get the regulars coming in. I think it'll be Justin, Despacito, Diane usually likes to pop in when she can too. Kimmy's another regular too. We got lots of great regulars over here. Stan should be in. So let me see. We're live on stream with Vegas Tips and Tricks. And sharing that right now. Great. And I'm also going to let people... Oh, yep, there you go. Yeah, Ismael. He was the first one. He's always the first one on stream. Hey, what's going on, crew? Ace of Vegas here. How's everyone doing? What's up, my spinners and sharks? We're just doing the pre-show. Real show starts in a minute.
This is not the real show.
Yeah, it's just a little warm-up over here before we get the encore going. Actually, this is the real show, and then we're going to get an encore after that. It's going to be an hour-long encore. That's what we're going to call that. Because we're Jay-Z here. That's how we roll. And is it showing live? All right, cool. Boss Lady has confirmed that we are showing live right now, so I'm feeling pretty good about this. We'll get some likes on that, and I'm gonna tweet this out. And JR, am I on your Twitter? I can't remember if I'm on your Twitter.
I'm not sure.
I have your Instagram. I have your Instagram for sure. Hanging.
I honestly can't recall.
Yeah, I hadn't realized that I didn't follow the YouTube channel for the longest time, because I was just, I'd watch your videos all the time, and it didn't strike me that it wasn't in there, because I think you came in as recommended, and that's how I discovered you. And then apparently I didn't have to hit the button because I didn't have the wherewithal to remember to do that, because I'm an idiot, even though that's all I tell people to do is hit that subscribe button.
Well, yeah, I know there have been several people like that I've had exactly the same experience with. That they keep being recommended, you keep watching the videos, and you never even think about it because you see the videos anyway. Yeah,
you can just see it because, the algorithm does it for you. Although, my spouse actually, so Wendy, she actually... she didn't start subscribing to people until I told her that her favorite YouTubers need that. Like they work off as subscribers, and she's like, "Oh, I didn't know that."
Well, I think a lot of people don't even realize that they can sign in and subscribe to something. I think They think there's some sort of a process that or they have to pay for it or something.
Yeah, so one of those little deals there. But no, we're good. Okay, it looks like we got most of the crew on right now. I'm going to go ahead and share that, but I've got that on most of the social media there, and you put it up on the Facebook page, I think, too, right? Your Facebook page?
I have not, but I can.
All right, yeah, no worries. Well, yeah, if you want to go ahead and do that, then we can, let's get started, and we'll start with some introductions. So, welcome back to the hashtag Vegas Video Podcast, Spitters and Sharks. Ace here, and I'm joined today with my boy JR. JR, go ahead and say what's up.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
All right. JR is joining us from Las Vegas Tips and Tricks. You can go ahead and check out his channel in the description box below. If you guys wouldn't mind doing that, just when you get a free minute here, that would be awesome. So today's podcast, we're gonna have a little bit of, you're gonna get a little whiplash from today's podcast. I'm gonna be straight up with you guys. Our top of the hour, we're going to be discussing the best family activities to do in Vegas and the best way to hang out with your family in the city of sin, so to speak, the city of neon. And then on the bottom half of the hour, we wanted to talk about something a bit more charitable. You guys know I've been talking about this for No Shave November, the homelessness crisis in Las Vegas. So that's something that we wanted to go ahead and do. But yeah, first off, before we do all that, I wanted to go ahead and introduce our boy JR from Vegas Tips and Tricks. JR, you want to go ahead and tell him a little something about yourself and what you guys do on the channel?
Yeah, well, thanks, Ace. Yeah, appreciate it. I'm JR or John, whichever you prefer, from Vegas Tips and Tricks. Started the YouTube channel a couple years ago. Go to Vegas pretty frequently. Do some videos when I'm there. Also do a pretty regular broadcast where I just focus on a particular topic, much like we're doing tonight, and give some advice to people that might be going to Vegas for the first time, or maybe just haven't been to Vegas in some time. So it's a great deal of fun, and had opportunity to meet a lot of interesting people, much like I'm for the first time talking to Ace tonight. It's just a great experience, and so hopefully somebody will join me over there and we can talk about Vegas.
Definitely looking forward to that. And you guys, and also I'm going to embarrass this guy here for a second. He's just been doing so much hard work. He's coming up on 1,000 subscribers. So if you guys haven't checked out Vegas Tips and Tricks, you need to do it right now. Get in below that 1,000 subscriber mark so you can say you're one of the originals, because this guy, he's going places. He knows what he's doing. So I'm going to go ahead and say, once again, link in the description box below. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Check him on out and get some good stuff going on there. Also, I was going to go ahead and let you guys know, too.
I did. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. No, I was going to go ahead and let everybody know. So there is one minor change you'll probably notice to the podcast. We did add Super Chat at the behest of a couple fans. Now, you're not obligated to do Super Chat. In fact, for this particular video, I might discourage using Super Chat. One, because apparently emojis are kind of a problem right now. I heard on, I think it was Mr. Beast or one of the other main streamers, that they're having some problems with quote-unquote emoji spam. And people that are just responding with emojis in chats right now are getting their accounts banned, their YouTube accounts banned. So they're losing memberships, they're losing subscriptions. I'm not talking about the YouTubers. I'm talking about the viewers. They're losing the memberships that they've already paid money for, and getting suspended for that. So I'm going to say go ahead and hold off on that for that reason, and also because we're talking about some charitable donations that we're going to do. I mean, if you still have a little cash left over, you want to support the stream, support the channel, feel free to, but I'd much rather you go, and Tim already did. Thank you, Tim. Tim did the very first Super Chat, first $2 in there. Thank you, my friend. Always good to see you. But yeah, definitely do not overgive here. I'd much rather you guys hit some of these charitable links in the description box too. But no, if you guys do want to do that, thank you so much. And like I said, Tim's the man. That'll leave your comment pinned for a while. And you know, he's always in here supporting me, so we always got to give big shout outs to Tim. So he was checking that out. But anyway, though, top of the hour, JR, what do we want to start the hour with today?
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about bringing your family to Vegas, bringing your kids to Vegas. It's kind of a controversial topic.
Yeah, very much so.
So, you know, I think Ace and I both agree that this is, Las Vegas may not be the ideal place to take a child, but that doesn't mean that it can't be a good experience for the entire family if people make the effort to include everybody.
Oh, I completely agree. I mean, you know, look at this happy family over here in our card over here. You got the showgirls, then you got mom and dad. You got big sister over here looking slightly confused as to what's going on. Then you got Junior and his, who's clearly wet himself. I have no idea why they took this picture like that. Very, very wet toddler over here, and it kind of encapsulates.
But I think the 14-year-old boy is taking a picture right now.
Oh, of course, right, as it should be. Yeah, definitely. No, I just, I mean, I feel like this photo that I have here encapsulates everything about bringing your family to Vegas and everything I don't like about the concept. So,
exactly.
So I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. You guys already know this. I'm very anti-kids in Vegas. I will not take my daughter to Vegas until she's 21. She does not get to go because it's an adults-only place. But you know what? When she does, I'll buy her a room. Her and her little friends, they can have a room, and I don't want to see them until breakfast the next morning. I don't care at that point. Go ahead. I'll teach you how to gamble. Then after that, get out of my sight.
Yeah.
Because this is the type of father I am. Father of the year right here all day. So,
Well, I think it's.
Oh, sorry, Jay, I almost lost you there. Go ahead.
No, you're good. No, I think it's much better to make the decision to not bring the children if you're not going to do all of the things that I'm talking about and that we're going to talk about today. It's much better off to leave them with grandma.
Yeah, definitely. But you said you're pretty pro family in Vegas. So that being said, why do you think Vegas is a good place to bring your family? And I use good in quotes.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say it's certainly not an ideal family vacation, but sometimes people have to travel to Vegas for whatever reason. Maybe they have relatives that are living here, or maybe it's part of a larger family vacation. Spending a few nights in Las Vegas doesn't have to be imprisoning your child in a hotel room while you and your spouse go downstairs and gamble. If you're willing to incorporate activities that involve the children as well as the parents, it could be a good experience. There's a lot of things in Las Vegas that kids would love. When you start thinking about it, a lot of kids are picky eaters. What better place for a picky eater than a buffet where you have literally hundreds of options? Pretty much anybody can find something to eat. And kids love splashing around in a pool. And, Vegas has some of the, nicest pools you're going to find anywhere. So there's a match in some cases. I think the problem, and I think you would agree, is there's a lot of adult-oriented activities that you're going to expose a kid to. I know if I was 14 years old and I was walking down the Las Vegas Strip with my parents, I would have been mortified half of the time by some of the stuff we would be seeing together. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. I can say that. Yeah, 14-year-old kid. I don't think I'd physically make it down the Strip. One too many showgirls. I'd be like, oh, that's a lot of pretty right there. I don't know what to do about all this. It just seems like it'd be an overwhelming sort of thing for 14-year-old me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Las Vegas isn't all the Strip. I mean, for those of us that enjoy that experience, it's not just wandering through the Link Promenade or hanging out at Caesar's Palace or Aria or Cosmopolitan. There's a tremendous number of natural attractions in the Las Vegas area within, a 30-minute drive. And there's even museums that are good museums that, kids, at least some kids would be interested in. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, they do have a lot more attractions. I think a nice thing that did happen in the 90s. Now, stop me if you've heard this one before, and I'm sure everyone here has seen National Lampoon's Vegas Vacation, or I think it was just Vegas Vacation. They didn't even brand it. Yeah, they didn't even brand it a National Lampoon because it's simultaneously the best and the worst of the vacation sequels, I think, honestly. What do you think of that? Is it the best or the worst of the sequels, or both?
I don't know. There are times, at least in not so much recently, but for a while that if it was on the television, I would just watch it for a while just to see some Vegas content. Before there was YouTube and there were vloggers that I could watch literally every night. It was just fun to see that background. But yeah, it's a little disturbing if you actually think about it.
Oh yeah,
I guess that's true of all the vacation movies.
Very true. Yeah, I think it's got that good balance of it's terrible, but at the same time, and it's such a great satire of the whole 90s idea that Vegas was a family destination, and it was a lot of honestly truth in television, if you ask me. Because you don't actually get rid of you don't get rid of all the extra vice and all that, and it does bring up how terrible some of the buffets are and all that, and I really did love that. But I'm getting a little off topic over here. So the nice thing about the 90s was it did encourage a lot more family-friendly sort of stuff. I mean, we used to get the pirate show over at Treasure Island. We used to, we got the Mirage Volcano out of the whole deal, the Bellagio fountains, and there's some great sightseeing you can just go ahead and do with your kid, running them around like, hey, look at those fountains. Like, hey, you've never seen a volcano before. Hey, you can. I mean, I've entertained my daughter for hours on just showing her like, hey, this one time, Wendy and I, we went to the shark reef and we saw sharks up close, and she was like, oh, that's the coolest thing. And I'm like, oh, and you didn't see the tigers or the dolphins, so here are the tigers or the dolphins. She's like, oh, that's great, because she's 5 and she loves animals, so that's just how that is. But so I'd say there are some good things, but yeah, I mean, what would you say your favorite family attraction in Vegas would be?
Wow, that's a great question. I think it's just in general would be the Las Vegas Strip. I think particularly if you take the sort of stretch and walk along by, there's a giant pyramid, and then there's a giant castle, and then there's New York City, and you have the Bellagio fountains, you have what looks like a Roman palace. I mean, if you're sort of old enough, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 years old to be kind of aware of somewhat of the world around you, that's still pretty impressive. Even if you're not gambling or anything else, it's a pretty neat thing to see at least once. I don't know if I as a kid I'd want to walk that every day, but you could literally, spend a day, and there are rides and attractions depending upon how old the child is. I think that's another piece of it. If you're a toddler, I don't think there's much to do in Las Vegas, but you get to an age where you can ride rides and can appreciate museums and things like that, or even shopping. There's a lot to do that doesn't have to be adult oriented.
Yeah, definitely very true. So let me ask you this. My niece is still trying to convince me to take her. She's trying to convince me to take her and her nephew, or her and my nephew. Not her nephew. She doesn't have a nephew. At least I don't think so. Nick, is there something you want to tell me, nephew? You go ahead and let me know in that description. But actually, just call Uncle. Let him know. But anyway, so my niece and my nephew, or mainly my niece, because my nephew, he doesn't really have a concept of Vegas because he's 2. But my niece is coming up on 10 years old. She's 9 right now, right. And I've told her about the place, and her mother's been there and all that, and she thinks it's just like the craziest place in the universe, and she really wants to go, even though she has no concept of what it's really about. And she's trying to persuade me to take her there, and I'm just thinking, like, one of the main reasons I really don't want to take is the walking. I don't think she can handle the walking. Do you have any ideas to help parents that would be in my situation with the walking? Because the Strip, it's 4 to 5 miles long, depending on where you believe it actually stops. Some people believe it stops at Circus. Other people say Stratosphere. Some weird people say it's a little beyond Stratosphere. I believe in the Stratosphere theory. I think it stops at about 5 miles, but again, that's not the point. Point is, it's 5 miles of road, and Christ, I don't want to hear, I'm tired, it's too hot, why is the pyramid still 1,000,000 miles away? Like, I can't handle that. So how would you recommend parents like me mitigate that issue?
Well, one of the few times that I would recommend that people rent a car is if you're taking a family to Las Vegas. And, if nothing else, if it prevents you from drinking to excess, that would probably be a good thing if your children are around. But, sometimes it's better with a family, not to be immediately on the Strip. There are a number of properties fairly close to the Strip, like, say, the Orleans or the Silverton, South Point, some places like that. You got free parking there. And then, you can visit the Strip, and you don't have to walk it from one end to the other. You don't have to worry about catching buses or cabs. And, so I think, not trying to walk 5 miles in one day is probably a pretty good idea.
Definitely, I agree. Oh, and actually, you know what? That reminded me. My director, rather recently at work, he was in town. He was actually in Vegas, and he was out for a family affair. So it was a few of his siblings, his cousins, and they brought all the nieces and the nephews and the second cousins and all that. So they had like a total of I don't know. I think it was like 12 or 13 people, just kind of running around in the family there, trying to get up and down the Strip. And he was asking me, like, what's a good way to get up and down in a big group? I'm like, well, it's it's probably not a good time for a limo or something like that. I'd recommended him the monorail, depending on where he was going, just because it was an easy way to get a lot of people up and down the strip at a relatively reasonable rate if you didn't have to be somewhere in a hurry. But I couldn't think of another good mass way to transit anyone. I think I might have mentioned the Deuce too, but I just couldn't think of another good way to get a lot of people, especially kids, up and down the strip very quickly. So what do you think?
Yeah, the problem with the monorail, whether it be the monorail on the east side, the paid monorail, or even some of the tram that'll take you from Park MGM to Bellagio, is it's such a hike to the back of the properties to actually access those, trams that the kid's crying before you even get to the transportation option.
Yeah.
So that's a concern there. I mean, I think if I was going to stay on the strip with a family, I think I would probably want to stay in that Mandalay, Excalibur, Luxor zone personally. And I do think that that particular tram is a pretty good one. It's pretty much centrally located. So, but yeah, you raised a really good point. There's a certain point, and again, it depends on the age of the child, but there's a certain point at which they're not going to want to go any further.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I took my daughter to the park. No, I think it was week before last, and yeah, she got tired after about, because we went 4 blocks to the park, walked around the park a little bit, then she wanted to play it. She played at the playground like super hardcore for like I don't know how long. Then we were walking back because it's 4 blocks from the house. I really didn't feel like driving or anything like that. We were 4 blocks away. We weren't bringing any sports equipment or anything like that, and she was just like, how much longer? Are we home yet? I'm just looking at a child. You know exactly where we live. You know our address. Come on now. But no, she's just like that. But she's a trooper. She's a princess, but she's a warrior princess. Just is kind of how she is. Me and Left Hook that one. Also, Pop Up Fishing was wondering if you had another Caesar today. I was pretty sure you were drinking the Miller High Life still, but what are you drinking right now? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, no, just having a couple of beers here tonight. I think these Caesars are retired.
Are you're not gonna do the 100-ounce
let's
Caesar?
let you get Mark Anderson to do something humiliating. What?
Are you not gonna do a 100-ounce Caesar for the 1,000 subscriber special?
No, we've got other things planned for that.
Okay.
No Caesar.
Okay, all right, no worries. Well, I'm gonna have a beer with you.
Although maybe if we could raise enough money. For some of the causes I could talking about here tonight, maybe I can be persuaded to do another Caesar.
Okay.
No, that's going to be up to me.
Let's arrange that. No, for sure. Okay. Well, let's talk about some off-strip stuff. I can't even talk right now. That's milk stout. Yeah.
I was going to say too much milk tonight.
Yeah, a little too much milk stout right there. That left-handed nitro. Not sponsoring the podcast today, but just damn good beer. Just FYI.
Well, if any of you people are watching and want to sponsor us, the beer companies, we're open to that. So.
Oh, all day. Yeah, definitely. Let's see. So I was gonna ask you too, where's the first place you'd probably take your family off strip? Now, personally, I was thinking about Green Valley Ranch, because I could stay there, and it's also got a lot of stuff on site. Like it's got a bowling alley, and it's also more of a resort than a casino and all that. Almost kind of like a Disney resort without the characters and all that. So I feel like I'd be more comfortable with my family there per se. And when I say family, I mean with the little ones too. With my daughter, my niece, and my nephew. The whole clan right there. If it's just me, if it's just me and the boss lady, I don't really care either which way. We go to the strip. We have a hell of a good time enjoying being adults by ourselves. But yeah, where would you take the little ones?
That's a pretty good choice, Green Valley Ranch. I would go in just the opposite direction though, and I would go to Red Rock.
Red Rock. Now, why would you go Red Rock?
Very similar property, a lot of the same amenities, movie theater, all that sort of stuff. But you're also closer to a lot of natural attractions. You're right there next to the Red Rock Canyon. You're closer to Mount Charleston, so you've got a number of, and you're right there in Summerlin, which is a very sort of upscale, family-friendly part of Las Vegas. So there's a lot of, take the kids to the fast food places if you want, or go shopping. So I think that's another good choice.
All right, good deal. All right, and JR, you're pretty quick on your feet. So let me ask you this. Um, so I'm out there. Let's say I'm out there with my 8-year-old son, my 8-year-old daughter, whoever. Got an 8-year-old with me, right? And it's me, my wife, my 8-year-old on the strip, or not on the strip. Let's go ahead and let's make it a little weirder. We're going to Fremont, and we're heading down the Fremont Street Experience, and out of nowhere, we're confronted with Cupid. And Cupid is, instead of being a small babyish cherub sort of being, he's a hairy 40-year-old man in a diaper with way too small angel wings, and he's looking for tips. How do you respond to that as a parent? Do you have any advice? Because that's another reason I have not taken my children to Vegas, because I have no idea how to deal with that. Like the showgirls, I can kind of explain that away. Like, oh, they're going swimming. That's their swimsuit. I can't explain Cupid. What do I do about Cupid?
Yeah, I mentioned there's part of the trip I would probably not, under any circumstances, want to have my family stay in. I don't know that Fremont Street is a place I would be taking the children in the first place. Although obviously the light show is interesting. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure responding to that. I might just be pointing and laughing. I'm traumatized by it, and I'm quite a bit older than 8. So, wow, maybe somebody in the chat has a good idea on that one.
Well, let's take a look at the live chat, guys. How would you guys respond to that? We have Mylesk99 saying, I took my daughter, who's 10 years old, to Fremont Street. Bad idea, and that's bad idea with 3 exclamation marks, people. We got the hell out of there. Fremont Street is really cool. It's the people that ruin it. So that's 1 vote for no children on Fremont Street. Let's see, my boy Pop-Up Fishing, my good buddy there. It's like, hey now, that's me. Oh, Pop-Up Fishing, he's Cupid. So that's the problem. So I think.
Well, I guess if that's the case, you just introduce your daughter to one of your subscribers.
There you go. Easy fix.
It's all good.
All right.
He's dressing up for daddy.
Exactly. Yeah. He's the one that gets daddy the ad revenue. So shake his hand and say thank you. He bought your Switch. He bought your new Nintendo. Yeah. And also, speaking of which, shout out to the subscribers here for buying me this new pop filter, because I gotta admit, I recorded some videos and they just sound so much better with the pop filter now. I still have a terrible lisp, but at least that's partially fixed with the filter. So thank you guys for that.
Oh, I think you sell yourself short. You have a face that was made for radio.
There you go.
So, I mean, a voice.
Hey, radio face, radio voice, all the above. I can take it. Nice. All right. Yeah. Well, let me see. What else is a good thing? So Mount Charleston you mentioned. I think we talked about Mount Charleston a little bit, right?
Yep.
All right. So what do you think your first place to take your kids, take your nieces, nephews, little cousins, whoever, family, on the Strip is?
I think it depends a little bit on the age of the child.
Let's go ahead and say school age. Like I made it very, very clear that toddlers do not belong on the Vegas Strip. There's no place for them to be. There's nothing for them to do. Those sidewalks are not made for strollers, and the sun's beating down at 1,000,000 degrees all the time. Why would you put that baby out there? Especially some of these people don't remember remember to put sunscreen on these children. And it's just like, are you trying to give your kids skin cancer? How dare you? Take that baby back inside where there's air conditioning and water. Come on now. But let's say school age. Let's say like a elementary schooler.
Well, I think, I don't know if we mentioned it in the talking about it before we actually went live tonight, but one attraction that I think almost any child could appreciate would be the shark reef at Mandalay Bay. And as I mentioned, I think the south end of the Strip is a little more family friendly to start with. So that might be a good place to visit. I think most kids would think that the pyramid and the whole Egyptian concept on that Strip as well was a pretty cool thing. Excalibur. I don't love Excalibur, but as a kid, I would certainly be interested in the visual there. And there's, they have a big arcade. I mean, I'm not a huge arcade guy, but some kids really enjoy doing that. So I think I would probably start on that end. And if you're walking at this point, you need to be taking a break. And going back to what we talked about a little earlier, if you're going to try to transport small ones up the strip, you've got to plan breaks, preferably involving ice cream or something to sort of break it up. But I think that's where I'd start. And assuming, as long as they're not afraid of heights, I'd definitely look into something like the Stratosphere Tower or the High Roller. But that's going to kind of depend on the child. You have to kind of tailor stuff like that to them. Some kids love rides. Some kids love heights. Other kids are petrified until they're 40, like me.
Definitely. No, I feel you. Honestly, I'd say my favorite one would probably be, I like the south side of the strip idea. I'd probably go New York. I mean, they've got a decent pool. It's an obnoxious, so it's not as good as Mandalay or Mirage, I'm going to say, but it's still a decent pool. I've played in their arcade. Don't judge me. I played in their arcade. And my spouse actually, one day she's actually dragged us onto the roller coaster. It was after a night of drinking, and it was at like 11:45 in February, so it was like 40 degrees, and we were going at like 60 miles an hour going through the whole thing, and it's just like, I'm like, Jesus, why do we do this? But I mean, it seems like it'd be a pretty good time either which way. Like if I was doing a family trip, New York all day, I'd say.
Oh yeah, no, I think that's a pretty good location too. And the kid doesn't care whether it's the best pool in the world. They just want some water to slap around it.
Oh, 100% right. I agree.
I mean, I don't think I'd take them to the D or the Cal or something like that, but any strip property is going to have some water they can splash around in. The old Monte Carlo or something with the lazy river concept that I think that appeals to a lot of kids, but I don't know if they really need a mega pool.
Nah, man, I miss MGM Grand. No, I miss Monte Carlo. MGM Grand still has a pretty nice pool, so they're okay. But yeah, I miss Monte Carlo's pool. That pool was amazing.
And if the pool gets too big, it's too easy to get misplaced people.
This is also
We've
true.
lost Jimmy.
I just tie a balloon to him. He'll be all right.
Yeah, like your luggage, put a little red bow on them so you can identify them later.
Yeah, there you go. That's all you got to do. Nice. Okay.
But I mean, we haven't even mentioned, the Bellagio fountains. I mean, anybody's going to be impressed by something like that. Eiffel Tower. I'm not a big fan of that, but hey, that's kind of cool. You go up there. Mentioned the High Roller. Talked about the volcano. The Stratosphere. Those are all things that I know when I was 12 I would have thought were pretty cool. So
definitely. Oh no, Dan actually put in some pretty good stuff. Take the kids to see Ka, or the Secret Garden. I think I talked a little bit about the Secret Garden. I've showed my daughter the travel vlog of that one there. So just for the record, guys, I do not let my kid watch my videos. It's Vegas channel. It's not for her. But the travel vlogs, the safer stuff, like where we do the reward, like where we go to Shark Reef, I'll show her that. If we go to Mirage and show her the volcano, I show her that, definitely. She does not get to see the Zumanity review or anything like that, which I had to censor to hell just to get that on YouTube. They were ready to hit me with that ban hammer otherwise. But no, yeah, Dan actually brought up a good point. So the Secret Garden was really good. To get some karate in there, that'd be a good time too. Yeah, maybe little shows, the less risque Cirque shows, I think would be pretty awesome too. I think
the Stair would be all right.
Oh, which one?
Definitely. And Mystere, I think, would be fine.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, I know. And a show I'll always promote, and I don't know why. I happened to stumble into it for free, but I thought it was hilarious. Take them to Matt King at Harrah's. It's a very family-friendly magician comedy routine. It's funny, and I'd say once you're 8, 9, 10 years old, you can appreciate it. So It's usually cheap too.
Definitely. Oh, and Pop-Up Fishing's got another one too. Tournament of Kings. If you're into medieval times or you like the Renaissance Fair and all that, that's a good way to spend some time.
Yeah,
That's actually
that's a
why I
good
have
one.
a daughter, is because of the Renaissance Fair. So leaving that, I'll leave that to your guys' imagination there. But yeah, that's where my kid come from.
That's a much longer show.
That's a much longer show. We're not going to get into that today. But yeah, now that we're at the bottom of the hour, I kind of wanted to roll into the next topic. But any final thoughts before we go into the more cripplingly depressing topic of the podcast?
No, just the general notion is, if you're going to bring your kids to Vegas, make sure that you engage them in what you're doing, and make sure that what you're doing is something they can be engaged in. And I think you may discover things about Las Vegas that you didn't realize were there, things that you enjoy that you probably wouldn't have taken advantage of if you hadn't brought the kids. So there's an opportunity right there.
I completely agree. I definitely dig that. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to the next topic here. And I apologize, guys, if you guys were only here for fun. This is the end of the fun half of the podcast. I'm going to let you know that right now. If you don't want to deal with any social issues, this is the time to go ahead and drop off. You have officially been warned. Right now, we're talking about homelessness in Las Vegas. So, to preface this a little bit, as you guys know, I decided to pick a No Shave November charity this year and involve you guys here on the channel and all that. And so I shaved my beard already. As you guys know, I think you've seen the picture where I look like I'm like 6 or something like that. Because it's not like I look terribly old as is. I already look younger than I really am as is. And then without the beard, it's just like, forget about it. People walk up to me. Yeah, people walk up to me, my spouse, and are like, "Little boy, are you okay? Blink twice if you need help from an adult." And it's not that bad, but it gets pretty bad. So no, but what we wanted to go ahead and do is bring some attention to homelessness in Las Vegas. So if you've ever been to Vegas before, you've probably noticed that there's a big disparage. You walk around, in a building like Mirage, where the windows are literally made of gold, and about 2 feet from the door, you can run into somebody who, hasn't had a hot meal in 7 to 10 days, and it's pretty shocking, really. So I think the center of it all, really, we wanted to go ahead and see about what's really causing the homelessness. And we did a little research. JR and I did. JR, did you want to start off with what's one of the big causes of homelessness that we found in our research here?
Well, there's a couple of different ways to approach the idea of. As far as homelessness is concerned, it could be any number of things. People have problems with addiction, whether it's drugs, alcohol, gambling. Certainly that's a problem in Las Vegas, because it attracts people who may have that problem. People with mental health issues, people whose social situations have just left them without a place to stay, whether those be economic problems or, could be spousal abuse, child abuse, things like that. So, those are obviously some of the driving factors. And of course, Las Vegas, in a sense, attracts people that may have some of those issues, as much as we, hopefully, most of us manage to enjoy some of the vices of Las Vegas in moderation. There are those who just can't handle it, and some of those people end up on the street.
Yeah, definitely. We were doing some research, and we found about, what was it? I think it was, what's the average showing? Like 6,000 people in Clark County that are actively, chronically homeless right now? Or something like that?
Yeah, some of the statistics, it's always hard to judge something like that, but I know 6,000 or 7,000 people. There was actually, I think one of the articles we looked at suggested that the homeless population has actually dropped a little bit in the last year or so. So hopefully that's actually the case, and it's not just a case of measuring it slightly differently. But yeah, 6,000 is probably a pretty good number. And you look at the whole state of Nevada, and probably 80% of the homeless problem is in Las Vegas proper. So.
Yeah, definitely. And then you figure, and another thing that really kind of trips me out is just how, you mentioned it's all in Las Vegas proper, or a lot of it's in Las Vegas proper, and it's not just in, not just in kind of the urban sprawls or what people would call Skid Row. I think that's the term of a neighborhood in LA that has a lot of homelessness, and that just seems to kind of bounce around to a lot of places. Like even out here in Denver, we have some tent cities. Actually, in what do we call it, Capitol Hill, where the Capitol building is. There's a large park there, and I was actually driving by with my father-in-law today, and he noticed, oh yeah, it looks like you got a bit of a tent city going on over there, and yeah, no, fact of the matter is true. There's a lot of homelessness here in Colorado. Partially it's because we do also have a housing crisis. It's very, people like to call it a seller's market, but it's a housing crisis. Rent is out of control around here, and people just aren't doing anything about it. It's just one of those things, and I think economically that's been part of the reason we have a boom. Also, secondarily, the weather is relatively mild for the most part until you get to the winter months, where it's like very, very chilling, and we do see a lot of folks hospitalized or worse because of the extreme weather. And I suspect that's part of the reason that Vegas, would you say because of the relatively mild weather, Vegas experiences a bit more homelessness too? Just people have a better chance out there because it's not quite as, you don't get the cold snaps like you do in Minnesota or anything like that. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're not going to freeze to death. That's for sure. The summertime is pretty brutal, obviously, but certainly better than somewhere up north, or somewhere like where I live, where it's pretty hard winters once in a while. So.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then you also have a fair amount more shelter. Now, they apparently don't have a lot of shelters, but what was this about the tunnels? I remember reading about this a while ago, and then I watched I think it was a Ross Kemp documentary about it too. But yeah, I guess we have people living in the flood channels, right?
Yeah, Las Vegas doesn't get a lot of rain, which is good because Las Vegas can't handle a lot of rain, and when you get a downpour, which is, if you've ever been in Las Vegas, when it really rains, things flood everywhere. Most famously, the Link parking garage. But one of the adaptions to that problem was to build a series of drainage tunnels underneath the city, which of course most of the year are dry. And people have found their way down there, and I don't know, at least several hundred, I would say, maybe close to 1,000 people, at least some of the time, are making their homes down in these tunnels.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And, another interesting thing I noticed about that, too, is you get because they do have the lack of cots, and they do have that, too, and the proximity those tunnels have to the casinos seems to apparently contribute to the homelessness too, because they're so close. They have a lot of problem gamblers that are not just living in the tunnels. I mean, living everywhere, and there are a lot of problem gamblers in the state of Nevada as a whole. Apparently, 6% of the general population, according to the Las Vegas Review-Journal, seems to be affected by problem gambling, compared to approximately 2% anywhere else, which I always kind of wonder about. You can measure it a lot of different ways, but given the proximity of casinos, I figure it's logical. Like, you're probably going to have a lot more alcoholism in places where there's a lot more alcohol going, and logically, you're probably going to have a lot more gambling abuse in places where gambling's very readily available. And I'm not just talking about the casinos, because you know what? In Colorado, we have casinos. I just went to a casino last month. I think it was Isle Blackhawk. And that wasn't too bad. But we don't have pokies. We don't have slot machines, poker machines in King Supers. We don't have it in the Kroger stores. We don't have it in Safeway. We don't have it at the airport. You know where they have poker machines and, just slot machines, all that good stuff? Everywhere? Vegas. You cannot get away from gambling. It's insane.
Yep. Churches and post offices, that's about it.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to. That's what's that far. It's we joke about it, but no, that's literally the only other place. They have them in bars. If it's not legally a government property, there's no reason not to have it in most places.
Right. Yeah, it's you have to put it in perspective too. You have people for whom they may panhandle for part of the day and make $20, and then they take that $20 and some of them may drink it away. Some of them may take them into a casino and just gamble it all away. And at the end of the day, they have nothing.
Yeah.
Because they're hoping to win $1 million. They're hoping to hit it big. And if they do hit it big, from what I've read anyway, most cases, they're not going to turn their lives around if they're going to just pour it right back into larger and larger wagers.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's a painful thing. Also, we should put a pin in that and come back to that in a bit too. Just regarding giving and winning and all that. I wanted to go ahead and talk a little bit about the sleeping ban too that's come up. So this is something that we will actually probably see a change in as tourists. I think now I have a slightly older article. This was from last week, so things might have changed this week already. But it's looking like Vegas is considering a homeless sleeping ban. So if you're not, if the shelter isn't full up or something like that, then you're not allowed to sleep on the streets. And that's
actually, Ace, I was looking at it, and I think your article was from the 6th. On the 7th, the city council actually approved that ordinance, a 5-2 margin. So that is set to be the law in Las Vegas. So.
Wow, that is, what'd you say, 5-2?
Yeah, well, the vote was 5-2 on the city council to.
Gotcha. So
that's
a pretty large margin. That's definitely we want this.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, what do you think of this ban?
It's not even anything to speculate about now. I mean, it's the law. I mean, I'm guessing it'll be challenged in court pretty much immediately. But
yeah, definitely. What do you think about this ban? Even as a tourist, how do you feel about them wanting to? Well, let me go ahead and just define what this really does over here. So fundamentally, what's going to happen is on days where shelters have available beds, and that's also loosely defined too, but let's go ahead and just read it for what it is. So the whole idea is the law is supposed to be like, if a shelter has available beds, if the police catch you sleeping on the street as a homeless person, then they can fine you, and potentially you can be arrested for non-payment and sent to jail for up to 6 months, and I think there's also a penalty of $1,000 fine. So fundamentally, what critics are calling it is they're charging you to be homeless.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it comes down to. Although I don't know how they can possibly enforce this law, because based upon what I've read, I think there's approximately 2,000 shelter beds in the city, and if there's about 6,000 people who are homeless, that's never going to be the case that there's going to be available beds.
Exactly. So it kind of makes you wonder about that. Although apparently, what was it, Houston or Dallas or something like that? There are a couple places that have tried this, and they still found a way to skirt around it too. My real question is, as a homeless person, let's go ahead and assume I don't have a phone. I know it's quite possible for you to have a working cell phone, and pay for that if you're homeless. I'm not questioning that at all. But let's just go ahead and assume that you don't have that. So if you're halfway across the city from a shelter, how the hell are you supposed to know at 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night whether there's a bed available or not? What's your plan there? What's Metro's plan?
You asked a good question. I'm not sure. Are we going to outfit the homeless with beepers that indicate vacancy, no vacancy?
I know, yeah. What are they going to treat it like a restaurant? Gordon Ramsay's going to be like, oh, yeah, we're going to donate these beepers over here, so once your cot's ready. I don't know.
Hey, I think you've hit it right on the head right there.
There you go. That's their plan. That's their plan.
That's going to be the winner.
They're going to spend $70,000 per beeper on this instead of spending $70,000 on housing people is what they're going to do, because that's the brilliant city of Las Vegas for us.
Yeah, this whole, and I don't. I mean, it's probably not the case, but I mean, it's another one of these sort of penny wise, pound foolish things. Rather than spend the money to provide some kind of housing, we'd rather spend more money to criminalize the activity and pay the police officers to be monitoring all of these homeless areas. It just, regardless of whether you're a fiscal conservative, which I am, it still doesn't make any fiscal sense.
Oh no, definitely not. Especially when you realize how much money they spend. I think one of the figures they cited was I think $73,000. It costs the city for somebody to be on the streets compared to $21,000 to house them. And I think I kind of get where the mentality is coming from because you know what it really factors in? Medical costs. Regular things that people that, folks like you and me who have medical insurance, we just go to, if we're feeling one way, we go to our primary care. Primary care is like, okay, you go ahead and try some of this, take one of these and go for, actually, pop-up fishing brought up something interesting. But, it's, I'm going to get pop-up. I'm actually going to get to you about that. That actually came up rather recently. I was talking to someone who told me about someone who was using pop slots that was homeless that actually did use comp rooms to pay for a couple nights there. But I'll talk about that in a minute. I found that interesting. That was the most interesting report of people telling me about what the videos do. So I thought that was very different. Definitely not what I had in mind, but I guess it saved somebody. But no, just the whole concept. I mean, the extra money from the ER visits, and then the money that it costs to send the police out there too. I think Las Vegas Metro has something like 3,600 officers or something like. I can't remember if it's 360 or 3,600. It's somewhere around there, somewhere in between there. Because I'm bad at numbers. I'm actually gonna go check. But just the money it costs to be homeless compared to not homeless is just mind-boggling to me. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Yeah, and I think, like you said, you talk about one emergency room visit, one arrest and incarceration, just processing the person into jail for however long. I mean, just think about the kind of money is involved there.
And also, I mean, can you imagine how much?
One thing I wanted.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's kind of this big elephant in the room, but you're in this with not only enormous wealth, but you have some of the largest hospitality companies in the world who specialize in giving people a place to stay and food to eat. It's about time for hotel corporations, for the good of the city in which they're operating, to do their own part in terms of providing some help for the homeless.
I 100% agree with that too. Also, I looked up the police officers. So it looks like Las Vegas Metro has a little over 3,200 police officers. But again, it kind of makes you wonder in a city like that if they're going to spend some time just fighting and fussing with someone that's homeless, and they're going to have like 6 or 7 guys come out to write one guy a citation. And don't tell me that they won't, because, I mean, they have entire articles on the misconduct of the Las Vegas Metro Police Department. This got to be, I mean, it doesn't matter which side of the All Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter, what side of the spectrum you sit on that. Las Vegas Metro has probably got to be the most incompetent police department I've ever read about. It's insane how many issues that these people have had, and how many court cases they've pleaded no contest to, where they've done terrible things and they've straight up said, yeah, we've done that. We'll get around to firing the guy. And it's just such a waste of money, and they're going to go ahead and reallocate their poorly managed resources already to doing more of that. And God forbid you or me got shot while we're over by a casino. It's going to take it's going to take twice as long, because they're trying to give a homeless guy a ticket because he fell asleep on a sidewalk.
Yeah, and it's fundamentally an unenforceable law. They're not going to, on a daily basis, going to be able to dedicate the manpower to cleaning it up all the time. It's going to be one of those, they'll have raids where they wipe out certain homeless areas or tent cities or whatever it is, or somebody complains high enough up, they'll respond to that. But it's going to be very arbitrary, I'm afraid, as well. So
yeah, definitely. Well, let's go ahead and so politics aside, criticisms of the police department aside, let's go ahead and focus on the solution now. So let's go ahead and so the thing that we put a pin in a little earlier, giving $20 to a homeless person. In this case, they were addicted to gambling. So there's a third article that Las Vegas Review Journal said where we shouldn't we shouldn't do individual charity to the homeless. What do you think of that?
I can see their point. But, if you read through some of the people that work most closely with the homeless, some of the people who you're most likely to encounter who are going to be asking for money or who, need, a sandwich or a blanket or something like that. Those are probably the people that are going to be most hesitant, or in some cases would not even be able to sort of, enter into the shelter or, get help in the community somewhere. So, if a guy, if somebody's hungry, what does it say? The Bible, you're supposed to feed them,
Oh
So,
yeah, no, definitely. That's the first thing. Yeah.
I'm just hard pressed to see how, giving a man who's hungry a sandwich is a bad thing. But I mean, in general, sure, you want to create institutions that are able to help people not just survive, but re-enter society.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can see their point too, because on the one hand, it's like, what's the old adage? If you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. But it's always the whole system is kind of weird because a lot of it is focused around carrot dangling. Like, they'll mainly focus on like, okay, if you do such and such a thing, you can have this finally, and instead of like, all right, let me go ahead and give you some responsibility, and then if that works out, we'll go ahead and yeah, you're good, let's get you out of the system, and if not, then we got to get back to the drawing board. It's very much what was that quote by Marie Antoinette? I know she didn't actually say it. Historians don't think she actually said it, but during the French Revolution, the one that got her beheaded, let them eat cake. Or
Yeah.
brioche or whatever it was, that just kind of seems to be the mentality here. Like, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and fine you because you should be in the shelter. No, let's go ahead and focus you a little bit. You should be in the shelters. We're gonna fine you for not being in the shelter, even though there's no way that you can tell that the shelter is available. So I'm saying that, but at the same time, I kind of get the idea of making sure that you give to the charities, because they do have the resources and they have the people. And I remember that's something that they've been struggling with, because once the recession hit, those charities, the first thing that got cut were the staffing costs. I mean, I'm sure even some of those volunteers and employees, they lost their funding, so maybe some of the employees might have even become homeless themselves because they did lose the funding, so they couldn't pay their guys, and then that reduced the amount of opportunities for people to get out because they didn't have quite as many workers, and then, just fewer opportunities for the people that were helping too. So it just gives you, it's just, it's a vicious cycle, really.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, I mean, you look around, I particularly think about downtown Las Vegas over the last 20 years. And, as visitors, we've seen, oh, wow, there's a lot of improvements. There's a lot of new businesses and so forth. And I feel much safer walking around these areas. At the same time, a lot of people were living in, what we would consider substandard or cheap hotels somewhere. And those hotels have been demolished.
Right.
Some of those people, it wasn't ideal, but at least they had a place to sleep.
Right. I mean, if nothing else, they had an address, they had a place to, wash
Yep.
up and all that. Because, I mean, let's be honest. Nobody wants to be homeless, whether you're mentally ill, whether you're addicted to
Nope.
drugs, whether you're just,
Nope.
you lost your job at the factory, you lost your job at the, at the office. No one wants to be homeless. And I don't think anybody actively stops and says, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and sit here. I think people are actively looking for jobs, but it's just so much harder to do. Like, have you ever, like, I can't really fathom this. I have no idea how I'd apply for a job without an address or a phone number.
Yeah, and the thing is that human beings are very adaptable creatures, and the longer someone lives like that, the more it becomes an acceptable way to live. We learn to put up with things. So, if you get into that mindset and into that homeless world, that becomes your world. And the longer you're in it, the harder it is to get out. So we've got to try to reach these people before it becomes a chronic situation.
Definitely. And honestly, I mean, even after reading the article, like I definitely do understand that some people are still struggling, but I don't think I'm gonna stop. If I'm doing great at the casino, guy asks me for a couple, but I'll probably still hand him a 5, or see like, hey, maybe I can go ahead and take you down to Subway. They got a Subway right here in the Luxor. I'll be right back, fam. Something like that. Like I like the idea of giving to organizations, but I still think it's a good idea to help individually when you can, because these things just really hit me a lot more when I can put a human face to it, and it's really easy to do on the Strip, like the bridge between, let's say, Excalibur and New York. That actually is that was a pretty poppin' spot for homelessness. I noticed for a while. I mean, they had the street vendors too, but I did see a lot of homeless folks that were kind of struggling on that bridge, and it's just, you go back and forth so many times when you're like, I'm coming out of all this excess over here, I gotta do something. So it's really easy to want to do that, but at the same time too, I think it's got to be a balance, right?
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. It's probably too easy in modern society with our, we live in large metropolitan areas and we're sort of walled off from each other. A few generations ago, you saw the families and the individuals in your community that were struggling, and people helped each other. Now it's, we'll let some agency deal with that. And so it has to be a mix. I think, like you said, you have to at some point give that homelessness a face and feel like you're engaging with those people, because they are, regardless of whatever their situation are, they're still people just like we are.
Yeah, definitely. Dan was also wondering who you are, JR. Dan, this is JR from Vegas Tips and Tricks. So I dragged him in here to talk about families in Vegas, and also trapped him here to talk about homelessness in Vegas, just because, we like to have fun here, but also wanted to go ahead and bring a face to this very serious situation. I'm not sure if they're legally calling it a crisis, but, let's be honest, this is a crisis. This is one of the richest cities in the world, and they have some of the most abject poverty on the, on the face of the planet, at least in the quote-unquote developed world right now. I wouldn't call us civilized, because, we're still struggling with these issues over here. We can't even feed some of our own people, which saddens me deeply.
You just go a couple of blocks off Fremont Street, and you'll see actual tent cities and people sleeping under overpasses, and it's not far from where you may have spent some time.
Oh, no, definitely not. I mean, even if you, a block west of the Strip, like 2 blocks west of the Strip, where you're hanging out in Caesar's Palace, literally, you're partying, get up in a palace, and someone's just trying to scrape by in a cardboard box. It saddens me deeply.
Yep.
All right, so well, that being said, so I put a few links in the description box below. One of them's from Redmark. Sorry, I lost my voice there for a second. One of them's from Redmark, Clark County, and they've got a list of charities that you can donate to. They have a huge list down there. Also, put down a link to the Las Vegas Care Complex. They're actually a really nice little center too. Gives people a place to sit down, shower, an address, and then they also even have a laundry service for homeless people, so they can wash their clothes in addition to getting themselves washed up. Helps them out with job interviews. If you look presentable, clean, and all that, it helps with the job interview. Just fact of the matter, there's no question about this. And of course, the charity that I'm donating to is the Las Vegas Rescue Mission. That's for No Shave November. I think we've got like 60 likes on that post already, and then in addition to the 40, so that's already 100. But depending on how many likes I get on that particular post, I think I'll probably just go ahead and do the month's ad revenue for that, and we're going to donate that instead, whichever is greater, honestly. So if you guys haven't checked out the community tab, go ahead and scroll through there. I have a No Shave November post. I've dropped some likes on that. I'm doing $1 for every like for our posts we can. And so there's that. Jared, did you have anything else you wanted to add on that? Any final thoughts on the situation?
No, I just wanted to thank you for having me on tonight. To say thanks to all the people that joined us in the chat, and hopefully we can do this again sometime.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully I'll have a little bit of a lighter topic, but I really wanted to go ahead and bring this up, especially with the holidays coming up. This is a really good time to just to bring this to the attention, to everyone's attention. So if you guys do want to donate, definitely go ahead and donate there. I know I told you guys about the super chat, but this is a whole lot more important, because if I lost my job today, I could definitely go out and get another one tomorrow. I'm not too worried about that. There are a lot of people out there, over 6,000 people in the Vegas metro area, that definitely need donations right now. So wanted to let you guys know about that. And thank you all for joining us on the show. And I think we're ready to go ahead and call it good. JR, you want to go ahead and do your standard sign off?
Okay, well, hey, it's been great talking to y'all, and want you to have a great and lucky week. We'll see you soon.
Definitely. And as always, this is Ace of Vegas signing off, wishing you all strong hands and happy spinning, you guys. Thank you all so much for sticking around, even through the heavy parts, and we will see you in Vegas next week.